Today we are going to talk all about how water shuttles work on a cruise ship as well as how excursions work. There's an awful lot of fun involved, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi there, this is Allison with Let's Go Travel Tips. Like I said, today we are going to talk about the water shuttles, sometimes called tenders, as well as excursions on a cruise ship. Let's start talking about how the water shuttles work. They've often been called tenders. In fact, I think water shuttle is maybe a newer term for it. When we first started cruising, they were called tenders. How they work on a cruise ship, because it's really important to know the ins and outs and really what to expect. So first of all, when you go on a cruise, you're going to have two kinds of ports as a general rule. You're going to have ones that the ship pulls up to the dock and you disembark directly from the ship right onto the pier, the dock there. And then you're also going to have ones that usually it's because the dock is too small to accommodate the size of ship that you are on, or maybe they don't really have the facilities needed to host a cruise ship. And in that instance, the cruise ship is going to anchor there in the harbor or just off of the coast, however, based on where you are. So let me tell you basically everything to keep in mind. First of all, when it comes to those water shuttles, they are the lifeboats on the ship. They'll take down a certain number of them based on how many passengers are there on the ship and how many people they are expecting to want to go to shore that day. They will take down that number and then rotate and go back and forth from the ship to the dock and then back again, taking cruise passengers over, and then as the cruise passengers finish up what they want to do on land, they bring them back to the ship. Now, a note about that is there are some mobility requirements. And so when you get on board the ship, if you are concerned at all, go down and ask at guest services and find out what they can do to accommodate you. Everything that I have seen about it indicates that you need to be able to, like you can use it depends on the situation, what kind of scooter you have, what kind of wheelchair you have, how mobile you are. So it's really important just to go down and find out from guest services what will work the best, or you can inquire from Princess beforehand. But I would, even if I did inquire beforehand, I would also double check down at guest services. So on the morning that you arrive in a port that is a tender port, they will come over the loudspeaker and let everyone know when the tenders are down and ready to go. And they will also announce a lounge where you can go to get your ticket to get on the water tender. It doesn't cost anything, but it is really just the way the cruise lines organize their passengers to keep everything moving in an orderly fashion. A couple important notes about that are the people who have excursions booked really get first come first serve on that. So if you're in a tender port and you're there from 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon and you want to be one of the very first people off the ship, you're going to probably want to book an excursion. That after the excursion guests, the people who are next are the elite platinum members, and in fact they will also have a lounge, and they list it on the schedule of events or on Princess Patter. They will say the lounge where the elite guests go to wait until they are ushered down to get on a tender. And sometimes they will put some of the guests on the tender who are on an excursion, and then they're able to fill in with a few elite people. That's how they kind of do it. It just depends on how many people are trying to go, what time the excursion starts, what time they're able to start those water shuttles. But that is really basically how it works. And then as they get the people on shore who have those excursions booked and they're feeding in the people who are elite, they will also start to call the numbers of people who are waiting with those tickets to get on the water shuttle. So once you collect your ticket, you wait in a public area of the ship so that you can hear when they announce your number, because that is your cue to head down to the gangway. There are always signs to lead you to the gangway. There are crew members around to point you in the right direction. And if you come down the stairs or the elevators, often you will see a sign that says to the gangway. But if it's not your turn to go, then you wouldn't just automatically go down to the gangway. You would either need to go get the ticket or be with your excursion group, and I'll explain that in a minute, or you would need to be elite and led down to the gangway as well. So when we are in cruise ports that I want to get off really early, and one that always comes to my mind is Santorini. I always book an excursion to get off the ship in Santorini because I want to be off first thing and I want to spend my day on the island. So we will book an excursion that takes us on, that gets us right over onto the island, and then off we go and we enjoy the excursion, and then we spend the rest of the day on the island. Know that when you do the water tenders there, the water shuttles, that they will always tell you what time that last tender is going to run from the shore. It is really important to be in line by that time. Don't be someone that's still standing on the shore and the last tender has left, okay? So keep your eye on your clock with that. Like I said, if they say the last tender is at 4:30, make sure that you're over there no later than 4:30. It's really interesting. In some ports, they use they use the lifeboats from the ship, and in some of those other ports, they use local boats. Santorini is one of the ones where they use some of the local boats, and we have been on some pretty cool boats going back and forth. One of my favorite ones was this one. It kind of looked like a wooden sailing ship. It was beautiful, and that's what they were using, not with the sails, but they were using the motors to take people back and forth, and that's how we got back one time that we went and just had the best time. So just keep in mind that if you want to get off the ship as early as you can, I would even be down there and waiting for them to announce that it was okay to come and start getting your tickets so that you can get an early ticket number, because you don't want to be so far late in the day that you miss part of your day getting to go. That's why I think it's so important to book an excursion. And so keep that in mind. That is how those water tenders work. And sometimes when you're ready to come back to the ship, there will be a really long line of people waiting to get on a tender, and sometimes there's not a very long line at all. I think one of the longest lines that I saw was last year in Newport, Rhode Island, and it was a really warm, sunny day, so people weren't always happy to be standing in that line a long time, but it was a beautiful day and we had a really nice time. But just be prepared that you might have to stand in line for a while. Alrighty, if you have questions about that, put them in the comments. Alrighty, now we're going to talk about excursions. So there are a couple of ways, first of all, to book your excursions. When you book your cruise, you can book your excursions right away. On all of the major cruise lines and even the others, you can book your excursions right away. Be aware that when you are looking through all of the excursions that are offered online or using your app, those excursions are not yours until you pay for them. Now, if you pay for an excursion and then in a little while you wish you had a different one, you can cancel the one, they'll refund your money, and then you can pay for the next one. The systems will not allow you to accidentally overlap your excursions. You can't have one from 7 in the morning until noon and another one accidentally starting at 11. It'll just tell you that you have a scheduling conflict. But I think that it is really important that when you book your cruise, you start looking at the excursions, because amazingly, some of them sell out really early. So if you know that there is something that you want to do in the place that you are going and you see an excursion for it, I say go ahead and book it. Like I said, you can always change your mind later if you want to, but you want to make sure that you aren't going to this place that you want to go to do something and then you're not able to do it. So I say book the excursions as soon as you see what you want and as soon as you can. There you can do excursions with the ship, or you can do excursions with a third-party vendor. Gordon and I have done both a lot of times, and one of the reasons that people really like to book with the ship is they organize you there on the ship, and I'll tell you more about that in just 1 minute. You are with the group the whole time with the ship, and if for any reason you are late back to the ship after the all-aboard time, they'll wait for you because you are on a ship excursion. Now, that's how that works. Some of the really nice things about booking third-party tours are sometimes they are less expensive. Sometimes they have ones that go to places that the ones on the ship don't go. Sometimes you want a much smaller group and to go to places maybe even that the ones with the ship goes. So it's always nicer to go with a smaller group, because if you have like a van of people with like 6 or 8 or even 10 people, that's a whole different thing than a bus moving around 48 people, and you have 48 people to get off and on every time. You've got people lining up for the powder room and it takes a while. It is just quicker, and often you see more doing it with a third-party vendor. One of the things that I will mention though is that if you're late back to the ship with one of those third-party vendors, sometimes they're not going to wait because you're not with a ship excursion. So that's really important and to keep in mind. And then the other thing I would say is really read reviews a lot, both on Viator. Viator is really good, TripAdvisor, because they have so many reviews. And when we're going, I don't and I'm trying to decide on a tour, I don't just read the first 10 reviews. Like, read down a bit, just see how everything is going with that tour provider. Fortunately, we have never been disappointed with a third-party excursion that we have ever booked. And we have booked them. I can't believe I did it for 2 days in St. Petersburg, Russia, but it turned out perfect. We saw so much more. We went to the ballet. We went to the Fabergé Museum. She was really kind. And sometimes, this is a note, sometimes you will read, you want to book a private tour with someone and they'll have places they generally take you. And I've done this in Greece as well. I'll say, you know what, I don't necessarily want to do those things. I want to do a couple, and then here are the other things I want to do. And we have had really good tour guides that are willing to change the itinerary to accommodate where we want to go. So that is a really nice thing about booking your own tour. And, it depends on where I am in the world, but sometimes I'll just say, I'll just manage it if I'm late back to the ship. I really want to go do whatever that is. And I don't think that very often. And fortunately, we have always been back to the ship in plenty of time whenever we have been on a third-party tour. We have been late back to the ship before when we have been on an excursion with a ship, and that's with different cruise lines. That's actually happened, but they're always waiting for us. So keep that in mind. Decide what your risk tolerance level is with that. You don't want to go on a third-party excursion and be nervous all day long that you're going to be back to the ship, because that takes some of the sunshine out of the day. So just kind of decide what works best for you and then do that, okay? And I would say, I want to add, generally the cruise ships have really good excursions. We've only left one time. When we were in Mexico, it wasn't quite what we were expecting, and so we just let the tour guide know so she wouldn't keep wondering where 2 of her people went. We let her know that we were going to do our own thing, and we've been really pleased with it. We had one on Royal Caribbean that we weren't quite crazy about, that I think was in Jamaica, but it was okay. We could leave early, and it was okay. But overall, we have gone on probably hundreds of excursions by now, and they've turned out really well. So just want to let you know. So once you book your excursion, how does it work? Well, it depends on what cruise line you're on. A lot of the cruise lines now actually have the tickets for your excursion on your app, okay, on your phone. So it'll show up just fine. When you go, they're going to scan that. They'll see your ticket. Everything is good. So far, Princess is still printing out their tickets. So when you get on board the ship, either right when you get on, it will already be on the desk in your cabin, or they will show up later in the day. You will get an envelope, and it will have tickets in it. And this is one that we have that we missed that part on that excursion, and it has your name. And then do you notice here, right here, there are instructions of where to go. And if you have it so that your excursion ticket is in the app, the instructions will be there as well. So this one says open air trolley train city drive, allow 45 minutes for tender ride ashore. So there you go. Meet in the Princess Theater, deck 7 forward at 9 a.m. So right there, it lets you know that you're going to have a tender ride to go ashore, and it tells you where to meet. So when you meet in that Princess Theater, deck 7, and you walk up to the door of that theater, first of all, the first thing they're going to ask you is everyone in your party there. Because the next thing so if they're not, you need to step aside and wait for everyone that you want to be on the tour with. And then you go up, and they are going to put a sticker on you for the group that you're going to be in. And you'll notice on here that it says, like Belly's there, and then it says the 150B up here. That's the excursion number. There might be 10 groups of people doing that same tour. So that's why they want your whole group together, so that you will all get the same sticker to be in the same group. Alrighty? Unless you're trying to lose someone that you're traveling with and be in a different group, you all need to be together for that. Once you get your sticker on you, because they'll see your ticket, and everybody needs to have their ticket out, they'll put the sticker on you, and you'll walk into the theater, and there will be people there that will look at your sticker, crew members, and they'll tell you where to go sit. Alrighty, they'll generally have some signs up on the ends of the aisles there, like, green 1, green 2, green 3, whatever, and you go sit down there. They will have someone with a microphone up front, and they will be reviewing, saying, everybody that has, tour 150B, look at your thing and make sure that you have one green 1, 2, 3, or 4. And just as kind of a fail safe to make sure that everybody has the right sticker for the right excursion. And we have had a couple of times that they gave us the wrong sticker, and we would have wound up on the wrong tour. And so make sure that you just take a minute and look at that. But anyway, you sit there until they start to call you. When they call your group number, like whatever I said, like green 1 on your sticker, then you know to stand up, and they will be directing you where to go get on the bus, go get on the tender, whatever it is that you're doing. Now, every once in a while, there will be an excursion ticket that will say, meet on the pier at 9 o'clock. And so you're going to need to pay attention and make sure that you allow enough time to get off the ship and go find wherever they are on the pier to find them at 9 o'clock. And we always add an extra time for that because you would like to think it's always straightforward, but sometimes it's hard to find people. Usually, though, the ones with the tenders, though, they don't do that. They have you all together. You go get on the tender together, the water shuttle, and off you go together so that they still keep you all in the same group, okay? So now you're getting on your bus. Now you're doing your excursion. You do whatever that is. Stay with the group. Do what you're supposed to do. At the end of the excursion, sometimes you're going to be you're going to end in the city, and they'll take you back to the ship if you want, or you can stay in the city and make your own way back to the port. And when you do that, you can either maybe sometimes have to get an Uber or a taxi. Sometimes it's within walking distance and not hard to walk. And sometimes, depending on the port, they will run shuttles from a set place. They'll tell you where it is, and then you just have to keep track of that and the time, and they'll say, we're going to be running shuttles continuously. The last few times I've been to Corfu, that's what they've done. From a certain place, they will run the shuttle continually from that place to the port, and they'll say the last shuttle's leaving like at 4 or whenever, so to be over there so that you're on that shuttle that leaves at 4. And it works really smoothly. It makes it so that you can have extra time. Every once in a while, they will bring you back to the ship. Well, not every once in a while, often. They will bring you back to the ship, and you will maybe have been somewhere that you didn't have the option to get off in the city, or you want to go see something else. And so you get off there at the ship, and then you can go back, and whether you want to walk around the town or go see something else, then you'll have time to do that if you still have time to do it before the all aboard. But just make sure that you have time. And often Gordon and I will do that. If we have been on an excursion somewhere and it doesn't end up in the town or the city or the whatever close to the port, they just take you back to the ship, and there's no option really to get off. We will either get a taxi back, or we'll walk back if it's close enough, so that we can do a little bit more sightseeing. I'm one of those people that when I'm somewhere, I really like to spend my time in the place. So I hope that helps you a little bit. Couple of notes about excursions. All of the cruise lines have a window that you need to cancel your excursion if you're not going to go on it, or you're going to have to pay for it anyway. So make sure that you know what that is. On Princess, I believe right now it is 48 hours. So you need to cancel your excursion 48 hours out from when it goes. Otherwise, you're just going to have to pay for it. Even if you don't show up, they're not going to give your money back for it. So that's really important. Another thing that I think is so important when you're booking your excursions, make sure that you read through everything about it so that you don't book something that, and it will always say on there like strenuous or not so strenuous, it'll let you know. So don't book something that would be really hard for you to do. And likewise, don't book, like just a city drive if you are someone who wants to be out there walking or hiking and seeing everything. So make sure that everything that they're going to be doing in that excursion is something you want to do and that you would enjoy doing. And be aware, I always like to look, when you first looked in an excursion on the Princess website, you will see, they'll have a couple of paragraphs usually about what they're going to do. But there's another tab across the top that I think it says details, and you can see like the timing of how they're going to do everything, which is really nice. It'll help tell you like how long the ride is on the bus. It'll tell you how long you get to spend in each place, all of the places that you'll be visiting. So that gives you a really good idea of how your time will be spent so that you'll know if that excursion is for you. And honestly, every once in a while in a port, you just have to pick from what they have. I know when we went to Iceland, there are not a lot of independent tours there in the ports that we went to, especially the ones that are more remote. And we just had to choose from what there was, and it turned out beautifully. And so I think it's way more important when you go places, especially if you don't know that you'll ever have the chance to go back, and do we ever? No. I think it's really important to do what you can do to see everything and take it in, because I'm a firm believer that traveling and seeing things and meeting people changes us for the better. So I'm really excited to share this excursion information with you. Let me know if you've got questions. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, will you please hit that subscribe button? Would love to have you with us, and if you appreciate my updates, would you please give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend or someone that you think would enjoy it, or over on social media? We really appreciate your help, so thank you very much. I'll see you here again tomorrow, and I'll be talking to you all again really soon. You all take really good care. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.